deliver.
Okay, we're gonna get started. I'm gonna have Steve and Charlie come up here. I don't know if you're tag teaming, you got different segments you're doing or whatever, but I really enjoy these guys. We just spent some time at Top Golf together. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got to know them a little bit better, so it made me even more excited to have them back instead of like, oh shit. They're coming back. We can't get rid of them. Yeah. Hey, Don. So I'm excited for this. This is very timely for this time of year, right? We're wrapping up the last quarter. We're getting ready to make some new goals. We really should be doing this on a quarterly basis or more often. Ashley and I have been talking, and a book I'm going to revisit is the 12-week year. Have you guys read that one? 12-week year.
I don't know, I read it.
It's all about condensing time and setting your goals as quarters and stuff. Just as another concept to get more done, right? We set New Year's resolutions, we set New Year goals and this and that, but we could do it more often. And we were talking about that because you've maybe heard the saying, a task will expand or contract to fill the time allotted for completion. If you give yourself a short amount of time, you just might get it done in that amount of time. But if you don't give yourself a deadline or a time limit or whatever, it's just gonna drag on and it's never gonna get done. So deadlines are really good. So guys, I've got a clicker here for you. Come up here and introduce yourselves. How more you want to share?
I'm gonna let you run the clicker because I'm something like this.
Technological challenge.
Yeah, let me make sure
You
it's
wanna have
working
it
here.
It's kind of like when you have an old motorcycle, it's kickstart only, the number of kicks it takes to start is direct proportional how many people are watching you.
Right, exactly. Forward, reverse, pretty simple. You're up. Thanks, guys.
Well, I'm assuming I'm in the camera. You can see myself in the camera. Look at me. Okay, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm Steve Turner. Some of you may remember me from last time. Some not. I'm a mortgage lender. Been doing it about 28 years. I've done just about every type of mortgage loan there is to do, and I partnered with Charlie. Charlie has been doing it just a hair longer than I have. He's also a mortgage lender, fantastic at what he does. And we are each other's accountability partner, which we'll talk about a little bit more in this. And I'll let Charlie talk about himself a little.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you allowing us to come out again. It's always an honor to be here, and it's such a fun group to be with. And we really have a great time when we're here with everybody at the Marchant group. I've been doing loans, started in 94. Yeah, 94. So I've been doing it almost 30 years now. I know I don't look that old, and I'm probably not in the image of what you thought of when you think of Charlie Brown, because I actually have some hair on my head, so that's a good thing. But like Steve, you know, we have worked in all different aspects of the mortgage business, from origination, being involved in underwriting and compliance and operations. So we really have a real good understanding of that whole process from the beginning to end, capital markets and everything. So we like sharing that information. We like sharing the resources we have and the knowledge, and being able to be of any assistance that we can to you. We answer a lot of questions for people all the time just about what's going on in the market, especially during the last couple of years. It's been super crazy for all of us. And we're really excited about the presentation today. Business planning is one of those things that we all know we need to do. But we're not always really good at doing it. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that might be as we go into the presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to do business planning for realtors today and how to create explosive growth in 2024. Okay, it's not complicated. It's not easy. Okay, that's what's unique about, I think, about executing a business plan. Most of the stuff that we do in our business is not super complicated, but it's not easy either. We have to work, and we have to be committed to doing the work. So Steve's going to take us through the agenda.
Yep, we're going to talk about the secret sauce. And the short version secret sauce is a lot of hard work. You'll notice I got several of the items on the agenda crossed off. When we first put this together, we realized we had a 2-hour presentation. We thought no one wants to hear us talk for 2 hours.
So this is part one.
Certainly, I'm going to hear some.
So we're again going to talk fast and cover a lot of stuff. There's a lot of details in your handout that we're not really going to go into at all. And so we're calling that homework for you in there. But basically, we're going to start with the 3 parts of your business: do a business checkup, building your business vision, developing your financial structure, using your business plan as a GPS. These others, we're going to do separate classes on that. One of them specifically is going to be on marketing. That's probably the next one that we do. and then pyramid of complete agents and accountability and coaching.
All right, so when we talk about a business plan, we have to look at it from multiple perspectives, okay? All of us are the CEOs of our own business. Did anybody here on a strict salary, and it doesn't matter what you close, you get paid whether you do anything or not? Besides Steve. Yeah, we're not, so we run our own business, right? We need to run what we do as we generate volume as our own business, we generate business. So you want to look at the marketing side, obviously is super critical. You know, we have to have that. We've got to look at operations. How do we, once we get somebody into our system, how do we keep them flowing through the system when we do that consistently every time? And it's not only replicatable, but it's repeatable, so we can have somebody else help us with that. And then of course, finance, you know, show us the money, you know, that's how we know whether we've done a good job or not, right? If we get people coming to us and wanting to use us time after time, and we get paid for it, we know we're doing a good job because somebody values our service and we can pay us for it.
Okay, pop quiz, no pressure. If you get it wrong, 20 push-ups. So as you look through your handout, you'll see some numbers in there where you can start filling in your goals. That's essentially what I put through pop quiz. This is stuff that I would encourage you to spend some time tonight and start filling them out and start thinking about that. Basically, it's going to be covering what Charlie was talking about, which is the marketing, the operations, and the finance. We're going to touch on all of that a little bit here, but you want to kind of start thinking in terms of what do I want to do next year and what do I want to do 5 years from now. And that's what you're thinking about or start thinking about as we're going through now. And we're ready for the next one.
All right.
Before you get.
All right, strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, one of my weaknesses is not keeping up with the clicker today. But so we all identify, can everybody in here think of at least one thing that you're like, I'm pretty good at that. You know, I'm good at that. One thing. Anybody want to volunteer one thing they think they're good at? They feel like they're good at. We're not gonna make fun of you or anything. I'm just curious because
I'm usually, when I start something, I'm pretty consistent at it.
consistency. Great trait, right?
Really
I mean,
great.
getting something finished. A lot of people start things. I'm guilty of this. I just ask my wife. I start a lot of things that I don't get done all the time. Sometimes it takes a little prodding from her, you know, to get me to finish them up. But being able to start something and finish it is really critical, especially when you do a business plan. Anything else? Anybody else want to volunteer?
I'm pretty good at connecting, a couple of different ways, like when I listen to people, I think of other people that could be in their life that could benefit them, but also like problem solving stuff. When people are talking about their situation, pretty good at connecting them with the solution.
Yeah. And connecting isn't important in our business. I mean, we don't need to be able to do that, right? We'd be fine without that, right? So if you have a strength, obviously one of the things you want to do with the strength is try to develop that strength, get better at it. I know Jeff does that. I mean, he's great at it. Been super impressed with every interaction you've had with him, but I'm sure he probably wants to improve at it too. Completion, you know, I mean, how do I get more effective at it? How do I get more efficient at doing it? And then weaknesses. We all have something that we just suck at. I've got a whole list of things I just suck at, but I'm trying to get better. I can't do them all at once, but we want to look at those things and try to improve them. And sometimes when we're looking at strengths and weaknesses, we don't do it. Give it to somebody that's better at it. Okay, somebody else that can do it better than us. Don't spend your time on those things that you can't do, that you're wasting your time on when somebody can do it much more efficiently than you and more economically than you, and spend your time doing something that Steve's going to harp on here in a few minutes over and over again.
And it's also important to keep the strength and weaknesses in mind when it comes time to scale the business and grow. You don't want to hire yourself, because then you're going to hire someone that sucks at the same thing you suck at. Hire someone that's good at the things you suck at.
So we're going to talk a little bit about building your business vision. We're going to talk about what are your main jobs. Okay, we all have, in any industry, people have certain things that they're responsible for, depending on their position in that industry. So what are your main jobs? We're Steve's going to go over that in a little bit more detail here.
You might remember from last time, I said the main job of a realtor and loan officer is what?
Oh, you got, somebody's got to remember.
What was it?
Connecting?
Prospect.
Communication.
Prospecting. Okay. And so that's your, you generate leads per month. That's your prospecting. That's your main job. Without that, nothing else happens. And so part of your business planning is how many leads do I need to do what I'm going to do? You need to manage your P&L. That's the finance. Without that, nothing else happens. in there. And then you should be managing, leading, and training your team so that everybody can grow. So from there, this is where we start talking about developing our financial structure. This is where you start thinking of, how do I measure these things? Because the things that we measure are the things that we improve on. If we don't measure them, we're not tracking them. And it's a lot like our ratios. If we don't know what our ratios are, if we think we got a 90% conversion ratio, we're not really tracking them. We're just forgetting to write down the ones that we didn't call back, or they can call us back, or those types of things. Okay. And so, setting the stage for success, and this is knowing your numbers, because your finances, they drive everything. That's as simple as that.
Would we have a business if we didn't make any income? Would we be in business? No. I mean, that's again, one of the most important measurements that we need to look at ourselves by, because no business stays open if they're not financially solvent. This doesn't happen. So does everybody know what their net income was for 2022, what their gross was, how much they brought in, and then what you had done, what you had left at the end of the year? Does everybody know that number off the top of your head? You should if you don't. Okay, that's one of the critical things about tracking it. And sounds like Don's probably pretty good at this, but I'm not. I write those numbers down, and every year I commit, I'm going to do it. And then Steve doesn't hold me accountable, so it's his fault. But if you don't track that, you don't know, you don't have anything to measure yourself by. You don't have the yardstick. You can't really tell.
And everyone likes to focus on their gross, that's a big number, or should be a big number in there. But the net is what you walk away with at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so I always remember way back in my credit union days, and they were scaling back a lot of our expenses, and everyone was kind of whining to through a pinch. And our assistant director came in and said, if you spend $1 million to make $1 million, you didn't really come out ahead. The idea is to make $1 million without spending $1 million. And so that's where tracking your numbers and knowing what your net income is, because at the end of the day, it's what you take home.
Yeah, and so as our own CEO of our own company, if you made $1 million and you spent $1 million, you basically worked for nothing, right? You don't have anything to show for it. Okay. I like the slide. I like this seminar a couple of years ago, because 2020 and 2021, we were all making so much money. Things were so good. We didn't keep track of anything. I gotta admit, I didn't keep track of much of anything back then, because I was so busy doing the ones which we're going to talk a little bit about. But you need to know what your projection is for 2023. Where do you think you're going to end up in 2023? Because those numbers are going to be important as you start to build your plan for 2024. Okay, so one of the things that you obviously need to know is, what's your average transaction price, and how is it trending? Is it going up or is it going down? And is everybody seeing an increase in transaction prices? Are you selling more expensive properties, or are they less expensive properties? More. Yeah, I don't see too many. It's hard to find. I've got a borrower right now. We're trying to find her a condo for $320,000, and it's really tough to get a condo.
I've got one coming up.
Let me know. Seriously, because we're trying to.
Murray, right?
Oh, I think she would actually be interested in Marie. Let me know, because she's looking for something in that price range. She wants something close for running trails, because she's a big runner. She loves to run and stuff. But talk to me about it. But it's hard to find properties. So properties are getting more expensive. They're not getting less expensive. But you need to know how that's trending, because that will impact your marketing plan. Because if you're selling properties that are less in a lower price range, you've got to close more units to make the same financial goal, right? You don't adjust your financial goal to that. You adjust the number of units that you need to sell to meet your financial goal. You don't want to go backwards on you. Okay, and also you need to know what Steve talked about a little bit. You know, when you get done at the end of the day, after you pay all your expenses, you do your split, all of your marketing costs for that property, everything else that you incurred in selling that specific property. And if it's stuff that you have to average it out, like you're paying for a subscription to something, average it out and figure out what it's costing to sell that property, because that's what you're getting paid per hour. And then you kind of want to. It's hard to tell this at times, but you kind of want to try to figure out how much time you invested in it, because we're going to talk a little bit about high payoff activities and how you leverage that using the 20% of your time that's going to produce 80% of your result.
I always refer to the net commission is what you actually take home, not what everyone thinks you take home, because they're looking at the commission on the statement there. So
my net commission is what I give to my wife. So, so when you look at leads, this is obviously the basis. Has anybody actually ever sold a property that they didn't have a lead for first?
Referral, you don't have a lead for it first.
Well,
Well,
but if they
still
gave you that referral, then it's a lead, right? Yeah, it's like anybody know who Wayne Gretzky is? Everybody heard of him? I love his quote. He's like, you're going to guarantee to miss 100% of the shots you never take. Okay, yeah, and he always skated to where the puck is going, not where it is, which is also a great quote he has. Of course, but look at your leads. Probably one of the most important things you can track, because leads are, and I think Steve's gonna talk a little bit about this, leads are a leading indicator, okay? So when you're closing, when you're generating leads, you wanna know how much you're doing hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly, you know? It's like anything else that we do. It's like if we want to get in shape, a leading indicator for that, okay, is something that we do right that day. You know, we're gonna go to the gym for 45 minutes. We're gonna run 2 miles, whatever it is. Those are leading indicators that get us to that lagging indicator that says, okay, now I've got my body fat is at X%, you know, or my cardio VO2 max is at this. But make sure we track the leads, and then you want to know what your closing percentage is. Okay, which does everybody know how to do that? Everybody remember how to do that? I think we talked about it last time. Closing percentage is the number of transactions. And one of the things we talk a little bit about transactions, not just the sale of a house, but if you give us a borrower, and that borrower, we take and we qualify that borrower. Okay, that borrower's 100% ready to go, they're approved, they can buy a house. Okay, that's a transaction in this instance. So that lead is a good lead that's ready to go. Okay, so you want to know how many transactions. If you've got a listing, if you go out and get a listing on a house, even if you don't sell a house, it's still considered a transaction for your conversion ratio on leads. Okay, so you take the number of transactions, okay, divide it by the number of leads, multiply by 100, you got your percentage, your closing percentage on leads. Okay, somebody that you just talked to and they said, yeah, I'd really like to do that, but the timing's not right. It's a lead still, but it's not a transaction in that respect.
So where do your leads come from? This is part of tracking and knowing your numbers. You're basically gonna come from 4 areas in some way, shape, or form. It's gonna be past clients, current clients, your business relationships, and the ads you run, those types of things. And so you want to spend a little bit of time to see what is generating the most success, and that's where you want to focus most of your time. You'll find a lot of times you'll stop doing this because it's not doing so much, but you find out this is actually generating over here. And so it's good to follow those things and follow the trends. And you do that by tracking. And so there's basically 2 things that are going to determine how your next year's going to go. One's going to be your business plan and your marketing, and the other one's going to be your time management and your structure.
Is anybody good at all of those? Every word of there, really good at it. Time management, marketing, structure. I'm just curious, but I haven't found anybody yet that's really good at everything.
Yeah, time management on the surface is really, really easy. It's also something most people struggle with. I mean, in the simplest term, it's a matter of blocking out. I like using color codes because it's easy to see. I'm big on put everything on your calendar because everybody has 24 hours in one day.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I am. Squirrel. Okay, so we will talk about some more of the secret sauce here. And so this is an excellent book. If you've not read it in a long time or never read it, it's a great book to reread. But effectively, the part of doing your business plan is the idea is you're starting with the end in mind. You're saying, this is what I want to achieve. And so you say, this is how I'm going to get there. Okay, and this is where you create your vision. You're the one that says, this is how much business I want to do. And so you start saying, this is how I'm going to get there. And then at the end of the year, you can sit back and you can say, did I do it? I think this is you now.
Right, so when we create our vision, we're looking at a couple of things. One is we want to be able to figure out where we want to get to. So it doesn't matter whether you start with the number of deals closed. I like to start with a volume figure, an amount, but you can start with the number of deals that you're looking to close, what that total sales volume should generate for you during that 12-month period. How many people besides yourself is it going to take to get there? This is a really critical piece that we talked about. Again, we talked about leveraging your time, Pareto's principle. 20% of your work generates 80% of your results. If you're bad at something, do you want to spend the time to get good at it, or you just want to farm that out? You know, you can use virtuous people. You know, with the gig economy now, there's so many ways that you can accomplish those tasks that we're bad at. And there's no reason to spend a lot of time trying to get better at them if we're good at what drives business through the door, which is prospecting. Okay, your net income. So after you made that $1 million, how much of it do you want to have at the end of the year? Okay, really important concept, because you don't want to spend every penny of it driving that business through the door. And then what do you want to have saved? Okay, so you've paid yourself, but now you want some money left over. Okay, because I don't know anybody that wants to work up until the point that they die. You know, most people want to spend some time with friends, some of us may. So I'm not saying that. We don't have
This
anything
one
else.
I probably am.
Yeah, anything else to do, so let's do that. But we want to be able to try, and even if we're working, we want to be able to choose when we work and how we work, okay?
There
And
you
so
go.
that's what's important about having that money. If you've got enough money, anybody ever heard this saying, if you have enough money to buy your way out of a problem, you don't have a problem?
I like that.
I love that saying. It's like, if you have enough money, that's not a problem, you know? If I gotta get from here to New York by 5 o'clock today, if I got enough money, I can get there, right? If I wanna pay, I can do anything I want, basically, within reason, if I have enough money. So if you have enough money to buy your way out of it, you don't have a problem. So that's why we want that savings. Okay, that's why, you know, we have a market downturn, you know, I mean, I've got some rental properties, and let's say that the market just really goes south and I lose tenants, okay, and I don't have anybody paying the rent, things just sitting there. I got one or two choices, right? I can pay it myself. If I still got a mortgage on a couple of them, I can pay it myself, okay, or I can sell it, okay. But if I have enough cash, I can make that payment. If I can make that payment for 12 months, 2 years, whatever I have to until I can re-rent it, maybe I can rent it at a lower rate. You know, maybe I have to drop the price to get something in there. So if I have enough money, I don't have a problem with the economy is in a downturn right now, and the rental market is getting soft. Okay. Oh, and 5-year. Why do we do a 5-year? Why would we want a 5-year business? Why not? It's actually not a bad answer. But we want to do that because our 1-year plan should be supporting our 5-year plan, right? What we're doing next year should be supporting what we want to do in 2029. Okay, so and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there's the secret elixir that Steve was talking about is going to be coming up later in the slide, but we're going to talk more about that. Okay, so when you're creating your 5-year vision, it's the same thing. Okay, nothing new about that. It's just what is your business going to look like in 2029, December 31st, 2029, compared to what it's going to look like at the end of the year of 2024, and compared to what it looks like now or at the end of this year.
UPS business plan, I always like to relate this to airplanes. If you're going somewhere on an airplane, you're gonna file a flight plan. Your flight plan is your business plan. That says, I'm here, I wanna get here. And then when you take off and you get going, it's not just a straight line because there's little things called turbulence that happens in there. And so you have to make little course corrections along the way to get where you're going. And so part of that is having your dashboard in front of you so that you can see early on when you need to make a correction. So it's a small correction, not a huge correction in there. And basically this is when you start looking at, there's 2 types of data to look at. You have lead data, which is going to be your daily activities, and you have lag data, which is like doing your month-end report, and this is what you actually did. And so if you know that you need to generate so many leads per month in order to close so many deals per month, then you need to know how much time you need to set aside to prospect and bring those deals in the door. And that's where knowing your numbers. That's basically what this talks about right here, is how much time are you going to spend prospecting so you can make everything else happen. And that way you can say, I needed to get 5 deals this week and I got 4. That means next week I need to get 6. And if I can get 6, I'm back on course. But if I wait till the end of the month to do that, and so maybe last year I did 1 deal a month, and I say I'm going to do 4 deals a month next year. January comes by and I close 1. February comes by and I close 1. Am I on track? Am I likely to make it? No.
You're likely to get fired.
There's that deal. So, but those are just good examples to look at and why in a lot of the sales thing, people literally have to hand in a call sheet at the end of the day saying, I made so many calls. Difference is you're in control. And so the question is, are you going to fire yourself or are you going to make adjustments?
Okay, so what is, when we're filing a flight plan, is anybody in here pilot? Yeah, I actually went through the textbook part of it and stuff like that, and then I realized it was more fun to jump out of planes than to fly them, so I started doing that. But what is the most important thing to know when you're filing a flight plan?
The destination.
That's important, but what is actually critical when you put in the destination?
Where you started.
Exactly. If you're gonna fly from here to San Francisco, but you put in Boise is where you're leaving from, it's gonna be a different flight plan, okay? It's not gonna work. And that's the same thing with our business, and that's where we talk about, how do we hit our dashboard and setting up our dashboards? Okay, there's 3 rules for building a business, okay, and we call them the ABCs of building the business. Wait a
Prospecting.
minute, let me go fast. I'm so tired of hearing that. Just kidding, Steve, I'll go back.
So, A, or number 1 is prospecting. We always have to prospect. Number 2 is gonna be building your team. There we go. And you want a team that's gonna cater to your clients. And so that's where you decide, what is my vision of the service I give? And as you bring people aboard your team, are they gonna be able to accommodate that? And that's what you're looking for. And then next one is counting the money. That's your P&L. It's making sure that everything is flowing so you can keep doing it forever.
This is where I wanted to put in a video clip. Jerry McGuire, show me the money. Well, that's good. Okay, so we're gonna go into the GPS. Oh, Steve's gonna do this.
Actually, no, this one's me.
Oh, really? It has your initial there, but I will take it if you want.
Oh,
Okay, so we're talking about prospecting. Obviously, we talked about it. We don't have a lead, we don't have a transaction. It has to be a lead of some, even if it's a referral, it's still a lead. It's somebody, it's great to get those warm referrals that says, hey, call Jeff because he is like the most awesome agent in the world and he's gonna take care of you. Whatever that is, where that lead comes from, that's still a lead and we need that to close. So creating more leads than we can handle is ultimately our goal at the end of the day. We want to get so busy that, we can't handle every specific lead that's coming in, and we've got to have a process in place. We've got to have a system for handling those leads. But we want to see what our leads are in our monthly closing. So obviously, we take our closings, we divide by our number of leads, and that's our closing ratio times 100. Okay, so it's closed deals by the number of leads that we had to get to close those deals, and then we get our closing percentage. Why is it important to track that closing ratio?
You need to know if your strategy's working.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you actually being effective at the way you're handling your leads? If not, then you need to look at your process and figure out what can you do to close more leads, because we all want to increase that closing percentage. It'd be great if we could all be at 100, but like Steve said, we're not going to be. But we want to continually increase that. And if we don't track it over time, we don't know where we are. What was my closing percentage in 2020? I have no idea. I don't. We were so busy. We didn't plan ahead far enough to think, okay, we get really busy. What are we going to do? We're just working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just trying to get deals done. That's what we do. Yeah, keep our nose above water. And we want to look at marketing strategies.
Okay, this one's me. So as you're putting stuff together, I was getting scrolled on a couple of thoughts. I was debating if I was gonna go down that road, and I thought, no, I better get fast.
It's really hard to keep him with.
It's easy to get from over here. So, training, this is, where you're training your staff, but knowing your numbers, you need to know when do you hire somebody, when do you bring them aboard? How are you gonna be able to keep them busy? If one really good month, is that gonna warrant hiring 2 people? Or is that, I gotta survive that month because the next 2 are gonna be lean, as you're working through. Now, that's one of the things I've noticed at primary is we typically try to run a little bit lean, because corporate philosophy has always been, I'd rather run a little bit lean and have everyone working hard than have to instantly lay a bunch of people off just because they slow down a little bit. And so it creates a little bit stressful because everyone is working hard. But it's also made it so we haven't had to do as many layoffs as others in the industry. And so I've always liked that position. Plus, I work better when I'm way busy because I'm just focused on what I'm doing. When I have nothing to do, I get bored and then I get in trouble. So I have to stay busy. So, and the thing that you're looking for too is what you're doing replicable. And so is every client coming in having the same experience? Before, and oftentimes, and we'll talk a little more about this too, we'll use like the McDonald's principle. If you go get a hamburger at McDonald's in California, is it really gonna be any different than if you're in downtown Salt Lake? Pretty much gonna be the same burger, same experience. And anywhere you go, it's because they've got a system where everything is replicable. And that's the idea, is you want to say, this is a service I give, and this is what my team does every time.
I actually tried that. We adopted our daughters from China, and we were in China. Went to McDonald's, it was the same burger. It's crazy how much it's like that, how true that statement is. Okay, one thing about the team meeting, does everybody have a team meeting, a weekly team meeting? I know you do. Yeah,
Is it non-negotiable?
No,
For me, it is.
It should be a non-negotiable thing, so that, it's like you walk in that kind of prospect. It's a sacred time, so yeah. But you look at it, this is sacred time, this is important time, so I'm gonna make this happen.
but what happens during the team meeting? Typically what happens, not like with this team meeting, but like a normal Monday morning, 9 o'clock, 9:30 team meeting, what typically happens?
talk about the weekend.
That sometimes happens.
You're talking about your plan for the week.
Exactly. I know, so
I'm in the wrong meeting.
So if you talk about your plan for what's coming up in the week, we talk about transactions, right? It's like, who's going on, what stage are they at, what needs to be done, we gotta get the appraisal in, we've got an issue with the title on this, we gotta take care of this. Borrower just changed jobs, yeah, that's a problem, let's get this figured out so we can get them closed. Can you have a team meeting with yourself? Yeah, absolutely you can. If you're a one-person team, which we've all been there at some point, if you're a one-person team, okay, have that team meeting with yourself and make sure you're doing that. That should be a non-negotiable in your life, that you do that, you set up a time block it, and you do that meeting every week, so you know where you're at, what your plan is. That's gonna be your business plan for the week, what's gonna happen in that team meeting, so make sure that you do that.
And that's also, you should have a flow chart of who does what, and so if you are the team. Just make a flow chart and do everything, but if you know what the different jobs are, when it's time to scale it up, it's easier to say, I think someone do this job, this and this, okay. These are all mine, this is now theirs, and you have that flow chart there, and it makes it easier. Because if you bring somebody aboard, yeah, I'm busy, I'm swimming, and I hire Charlie and say, hey, I got all these things I need to do here, go do it, and then I go off and do the thing. He doesn't know what my priorities are, he doesn't know what's on fire, he doesn't know what the good ones are, so he's gonna pick what he wants. And then when he doesn't do what I want and I get mad, is it really his fault or is it my fault? No.
And you're typically gonna pick the easy stuff. That's what I always do if Steve doesn't say something. I'll take care, I'll do the easy part, okay? Or the fun part, one of the two. One of the things in 1 Minute Manager, Ken Blanchard, he talks about that, making sure that you describe what that person needs to do, because we have to hold, not only do we need to hold ourselves accountable, but we have people that work for us or that are working with us in some manner, we need to hold them accountable too. And if they don't know what's expected, anybody have kids? It's like me. Okay, everybody's got kids. If you don't tell your kids what you expect of them, can you get mad at them if they don't do it or if they do something different?
Can or should?
Yeah. They have to know. If they know most of the time, and I'm gonna say most of the time, because my kids didn't all the time, they knew, I told them all the time growing up, you can choose your actions, but not your consequences, so choose wisely. And it's a funny story, my boy one time, he was really mad at my oldest son, he was really mad at his younger sister, really, really mad. And he's like, Dad, what's my consequence if I hit her? And I'm like, I can't tell you that, you don't know your consequence when you don't. He goes, well, can you tell me what it would be if I just kick her? But they do learn that, but we do hold them accountable, we hold each other accountable, and we have to hold people that we hire accountable, so we need to know that. Okay, talking about counting money, okay, again, that's how we know our worth as an individual. I mean, and when we're talking business, I'm not talking about other personal aspects of our life, but in business, that's the way we measure our worth, is how much money we make is a direct correlation to how many people we've given great service to, and we've done a great job for. So when you look at the end of the year, what do you want your cash assets to be? Total income, yearly savings, again, you don't want to spend every penny you make, average business expense. If you start tracking, does everybody track all of their expenses, personal and business expenses, so that they can look at it at any given time and know exactly what they're spending? Isn't that much more helpful than guessing? I guess too. My wife doesn't guess, I guess.
I don't even guess, I just get in trouble.
Yeah. Now you get a project that runs a little over budget, Yeah.
Start, Charlie.
Yeah.
We're not even gonna wait.
Moving on.
You're in a flat spot.
Yeah, you want to track, you want to know your expenses. So, but you need to know what that transaction is costing you. Also, you need to know if your time is better spent on a different activity and you can farm that out to somebody. Can I pay somebody 15 bucks an hour? Can I pay somebody 20 bucks an hour to do that? Because when I spend my time where I'm leveraged the most, which is prospecting, okay, I can get $50 an hour, I can get $100 an hour for my time prospecting, so try to leverage those out. Total transactions, monthly closing, you guys know all this, gotta break it down, vacation time, if you're gonna take a couple of weeks off, make sure you put that in. If you're gonna take a month off, put that in, because now instead of having a 12-inning game, you've got an 11-inning game, right? Unless you have systems in place at your business, which is another premise of E-Myth, okay? He said your business should run better without you there than it does with you there. That's where we want to get to. He says most people that get into business for themselves are technicians, so they really know how to do something really well. Like I know how to close a loan really well. I'm really good at going through that process, getting the documentation, getting all lined up, presenting it to the underwriter, getting it through closing, getting that done. Really good at that. If I were to go and start a mortgage business like Primary, a big mortgage business like Primary, I would probably really suck at that because I would be a technician having an entrepreneurial seizure. I just had this wild idea. I did run a brokerage for a while, so I can do it, but it's not where a lot of where my strengths are. So we need to really keep that in mind. Don't get caught up in that. Make sure you're working on your business and you want a time block for that.
I think a good example of that was when we got really busy on servicing.
Mhm.
And we had international company everywhere, and our servicing rate got way backed up on insurances and escrows, and so it was kind of all hands on deck to get stuff sorted out, make sure stuff got paid on time. So Charlie and I got recruited to help with that. And
A nightmare. A nightmare.
I was going through it, and I was getting, I don't know, a couple of dozen a day or so, and then we looked at the numbers, and there's one of the ladies in the office working different thing, and she was doing like 10 times the work I was, and I was like, are you really? I mean, really? How? And she looked, and basically what it came back to is I had a loan officer mentality. I was looking for stuff, I think it's probably here, and go through and find it and whatnot, and her attitude, call them up, saying, we need this, get it, next, we need this, get it. The efficiency between the two was night and day. I mean, my thoughts was the information's already there, let's just go get it. And so I had to change my mentality in order to succeed at that. And that's the difference.
Anybody ever been involved on the lending side at all? So these are called investor pins, is what we were doing. We were gathering investor pins. So after the file closes, okay, the investor will get it, like if we're pooling them or whether we're selling them individually, to an investor, they'll go through and look at that file. They'll basically re-underwrite the file, and then they'll find some nitpicky little piece of thing that they need, And I'm like, are you serious? What does that have to do with anything? It's not material in the file, but because it's on their checklist, whoever's reviewing that information, it's on their checklist and they want it, and they will not fund that file for us. So we'll give us our money back
Purchase it or they'll
until they
return
get
it back.
Yeah, we had to do that for like 6 months, and it was the worst 6 months of my life. I hated it. It was like, please don't make me do it again. I still, Alyssa North, who is our senior VP over operations, every time I see her, she's like, I'm not gonna ask you to do it again, I promise, because she knows I hate it. One of your business plans, everybody see this in your handout? It's in the one that has, it's the workbook on the front. Okay, it's second. It looks like, oh, speaking of which, see, I got off track again. I was supposed to remind you to do this survey, guys. If you would fill this out for us, we would really appreciate it. Just I put it right on the front of this. Just fill it out when we're done. Give it to us. We would love to have feedback on what you think of this, because we want to make them better. Obviously, we're trying to always improve, but we'd like to see, instead of 6 people in here, we'd like to see 60 people in here. Okay. And we want to be, and the only way we're going to do that is to give more value, more service. So let us know feedback. And again, we've both got really thick skins. Been in mortgage business a long time, so you can't say anything that's going to hurt our opinions. I promise.
I heard you for crying.
Yeah. So fill this out, get us back to us. If you know somebody that has a question, again, we answer a lot of questions. We're happy to do that. There's no obligation. You don't have to do a loan with us because you ask us a question about something. I've had people send me loan estimates, good faith estimates, all kinds of stuff to look at. They're working with another lender, and I'm like, sure, just let me look at it. And a lot of times it's like, what, it's fine. You're good. Just close it. You're right there. You're on the finish line. Just get the thing closed. Just be done with it. You're good. Maybe they don't like the lender quarter we're doing that. It's not worth redoing the loan because of some issue you may have had with the lender, because everything else is solid in the file. But send that back. You can just take it and rip it off the front, leave it with us. We'd really appreciate that. But inside of here, you'll notice on your business plan, hey guys, this is just something we threw together. It doesn't have to be this, but you need some document. You got to write it down someplace. If you don't write it down, you can't hit a target you can't see. Howard Hill, best archer in the world. Okay, he couldn't hit a target if he was blindfolded, he couldn't see it. You guys aren't gonna hit your target if you don't see it, so that's why it's so important to write this down. I'm not gonna go through all of these numbers, because I don't think we have quite enough time to do that. But they're really simple, and if you have any questions, ask me. It's not hard to do, doesn't take a lot of time to do. Block yourself out an hour on your calendar and go through and set up your 2024 business plan. Okay, so you have all of these numbers and they're readily available to you. On the back of this. Oh, this is on another thing. Along with that, well, actually, we're gonna get into some other section of that. So I'll wait a minute for that. But make sure you fill that out. Okay, what's on the back? Sorry. Okay, 2024. So your current plan, where you are with your current plan, where you're gonna be with 2024. So you want to, again, why are we putting where we are currently? Why is that important?
So you know where you're coming from.
Exactly. You know where you are, you know where your starting point is, okay? So that way,
See yourself.
yeah, so you know where your starting point is, and you know where your ending point is gonna be in 2024, you know where your ending point is gonna be in 2029. Okay? How do you do that for, Steve?
Dashboard. So how do you hit your dashboard? This is gonna be a little bit of a repeat of what we was talking about earlier. Basically tracking your efforts. As we talked about, your lead data and so on, that is keeping your daily log. So I believe there is, some call tracking handouts in there, same ones we did before. Most people nowadays are using a CRM. If you're not using one, I would highly encourage you to use one. If you really don't want to use one, then use that or some version of it. That's where you're tracking your daily activities, because it's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym once, are you going to magically get in shape? But if you block out time and you're going consistently, weekly, monthly, in there, then you can achieve the goals you want. And that's the same type of thing. You're tracking your lead data, so you're tracking your activities. And then at the end of the month, you do your month end, that's where you track to see what you actually did, and that's your lag data, that's your month end. And so a lot of times you can look at this a little bit like it's a 12 innings. Go ahead to the next slide. Yeah, where you're tracking the projections. But you look at it as like month in January is my first inning. I can check, I can see where I did. February is a new one, and each month you're going along. And after you've done it for a little while, you'll get to see a little bit of a pattern. You'll know when your busy season is, when your slow season is, and you can plan stuff accordingly. And that's part of the importance of looking at where you were last year, what you did, what was your biggest month, those types of things, because you're looking forward.
And a great tip for looking at your activity, and I saw a guy do this, and I actually do it on several things. If you have a certain number, let's say that your lead, you've got a certain number of calls that you need to make, you're going to prospect that day, and you're not super good at time blocking, which I'm not. I tend to get off track with that sometimes. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you want to make 50 lead calls, okay, your goal today is 50, just write down, print it on a computer, go 50, 49, 48, 47, 46. Print that out, set it by your desk when you get ready to make your calls. And when you make your first call and you get it done, cross that one off, cross 50 off, and then cross 49, cross 48. So you can see, because it will build momentum. You get halfway through your list, you're starting to feel pretty good. You get 3/4 of the way through your list, and you're going, okay, I'm making good progress. And it keeps you motivated because you can see just instantly. It's an old trick, but our minds, we have to sometimes play tricks with our minds to keep us on task.
Okay, so we do this for our families, right? So we want to track our business expenses and income, making sure that's where it needs to be, so the business is healthy. But we also at the same time want to track our personal money so that we know we're hitting our goals and doing stuff accordingly. And so it's the exact same stuff you're tracking. We just want to combine the two, because it's all just like 24 hours in one day, and we can do it all in there.
Hey, critical thing. I'm always going to harp on this. You got to be consistent with it. Consistency is the most important thing in our business, or basically any business. You got to be doing it every time. So make sure that you're doing it monthly. I try to do it a little more often than that, because sometimes it gets a little burdensome to try to wait till the end of the month to get everything caught up. Most of these things I like to look at on a weekly basis, but you've got to be consistent with it. And we're going to talk a little bit. This is again, too long of a subject to really cover here in much detail. We're going to talk a little bit about setting up operations. Okay, we talked about Michael Gerber, the E-Myth. If you haven't read it, it's worth reading. It's an easy read, it's not long. It would definitely be worth reading. You've got to systemize everything. Not only for yourself, but again, when you start to get more people into your business and you're bringing them in, they've got to be able to assist you with what you're doing because you want to leverage your time. 20% of your activity that's generating 80% of your value, okay?
Just kind of harping on that a little bit, I just had a quick little thought. There was a few years back when we had a lot of new regulation hitting our industry. And every one of our departments was writing up their workflow and their best practices, and we had the whole big thing of who did what. And then when we get audited, they come and see we're actually following. But there was quite a few that I had to write up, and when I realized all the different things that I was doing, oh, yeah, I guess I put that in and look at the things. So if you take the time to actually write it out, what you do, it makes it easier to put it into a workflow or a work chart, and it makes it easier to be replicable. Or when you're training someone, you've got a list of these are the things that I do, and this is the order we do them in, and this is why.
It's kind of interesting. I never thought about that before, but we have all kinds of accountability partners in the mortgage business. We've got every state regulator, we got every federal regulator. That's that.
Like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're there helping us out. Man. So, like, we just need somebody on the sales side to
Yeah, so the last screen there was actually gonna be a separate class. Just touching on it really quickly in there, but basically what you want to look at is this is, you're gonna come up with a marketing plan that's gonna include your social media, that's gonna include what ads you do, it's gonna include stuff like door hangers if you're doing door hangers, it's gonna include whatever campaign you're doing. And so that's as you're sitting down, you're saying, okay, this is what I want to do. Am I gonna do it all just with telephone dialing, or am I gonna hit the streets with my feet? How am I gonna do it? And that's your marketing plan.
And when is that, Steve? When are you gonna sometime?
We was talking about that making probably January.
January. So January, really looking, that's a fun class. Looking forward to doing that one.
Yeah,
Here's Steve's favorite thing.
yes, now we'll talk about what I tried to talk about earlier, but Charlie wouldn't let me. Scheduling, basically you want to schedule everything. It's just a matter of picking your color codes for different things. I typically will use blue for my power hour. That way I can just look at the calendar, I know it's blue, and if I've shared my calendar with anybody, they know that I'm not really gonna be available, I'm not gonna return their calls, I'm not gonna return their texts or anything until I'm done with that, because that's when I'm prospecting, it's when I'm doing that work. I will use yellow for my personal time, and so if it's a dinner date with my wife, if it's some family function we're doing, or anything that's after work or before work, I just color code them, and it makes it really easy to look at it. And so I would say pick the colors you want, if you're gonna color code it, and then time block them in hour or half hour blocks. Again, you can start working on it that way, but I would do your entire life that way. Because if you've got a hot day, you got a lot of time to get there, so you gotta finish up whatever you're doing ahead of it. If you've got some family function, maybe there's someone's got a new baby and you want to listen to a new baby. And you gotta have time to get over there. That might be half day, might be an hour, might be the entire day. So you're planning those things in addition to your appointments, when you do your marketing, and you can plan your planning time. Because it takes a little time to sit down and plan your day out.
Do you color code the geo restoration?
Yeah, that's rust color.
Steve, his wife is really into Metro Geos. And Steve has become really a connoisseur and aficionado of Metro Geos. So if you ever want to know anything about Metro Geos,
I would say my wife's a connoisseur. She knows everything about them. I'm just the one that keeps them on the road for it.
But guys, time blocking is simple. If it matters, time block for it. If it doesn't matter, don't worry about putting it on your calendar because it's not going to get done anyway. But if it matters to you, you should time block for it.
Okay, building your team. This is a critical thing to do. It's easy to say, it's also extremely difficult. Usually when you think of that, you'll think of everybody in the office, receptionist or those types of things. And that is very much part of it, but this is also your handyman. I mean, you ever had a deal where the seller says, I ain't fixing crap, and buy it or not? And it needs a new roof, or maybe it's got some peeling paint, and we'll do an FHA loan, and all I gotta do is, spend $30 in paint, and they're done. And so who's your handyman? Who do you call for that? Who's your roofer? And so those are people that you should have ready to go. And someone that you know is gonna refer you is someone that you're not gonna be embarrassed to have them come out, you know they're gonna do a good job. And so this should also include other real estate agents. If someone's moving from here to Colorado and you're not licensed in Colorado, you wanna be able to pass them off to someone you know is gonna pass them back when someone's moving from Colorado to Utah. Or if someone's doing a deal up in Logan, and you don't really wanna drive up to Logan, you're never gonna drive up to Logan. Then you need to find a Logan real estate agent that doesn't want to drive down to Salt Lake or wherever your business is. And so you should have other agents to refer business to back and forth as part of your network. Okay, time blocking, power hours, your email campaign. A lot of this you can automate, especially with a good CRM. And the more you automate those things, the more efficient you are with your time, the more you can get done. And it also helps with consistency.
Yeah, and there's a couple of handouts in there that show some old lead tracker, and we don't even update those because they're from like 2001, I think, or something like that, but nobody uses them anymore. Does anybody not use a CRM? Yeah, everybody's got a CRM, and you have to use it in today's age because it makes you so much more efficient and effective when you're trying to reach out to people and do stuff. It reminds you of stuff. It'll take care of a lot of the tasks automatically for you. Now you can even, you don't want to handwrite a thank you card or birthday card, you know, you can automate that inside the CRM and it'll automatically do it. And especially with AI now, you know, it can help you write things. So take advantage of that. Everybody's got their CRM. If you have any, we use one, we use Surefire, but make sure you know your CRM. Spend the time to learn it, time block for it if you haven't yet, because there's a lot of power behind a CRM anymore that you can utilize. Tracking your results though, you always want to break it down because you want to know where your highest payoff activities are. Right? You know, you would not just utilize the same amount of time for every referral category that you have, because you may get one, maybe it's your business partner referral, okay? Maybe that's where you're getting most of your business from. You start looking at your leads. Of course, that's why we track them. You look at them and go, man, I'm getting 28% of my leads from this one market vertical. So this is where I want to spend my time. Okay. Maybe you're not getting anything from a builder. Maybe you don't have a builder. Maybe a goal that you have. Maybe you're not getting anything right now. So you're not spending a lot of time unless that's a goal that you're going to try to develop. But track those in your results. Obviously, income. Tracking income and forecasting income is critical for our business. We need to know the target we have to hit, stay in business, pay ourselves what we're worth, okay, and have something left over at the end of the day. Tracking your business income and expenses. Obviously, we talked about that. We've got to do that as well. We can't not know what it's costing us to do business. We have to do that, okay? Personal family budget. It's amazing. It's like, has anybody ever tried to lose weight and track their food? Track what you eat? I did that. It's scary. It was really scary, but I lost 40 pounds doing it, so it was worth it. But it was really interesting going through that process and writing everything down. So when you start tracking expenses, when I started tracking expenses and looking at all the stuff I spent money on, I'm like, that's ridiculous that I spend that much money on that. You know, and I don't even. It's like I look at it at the end of the day and what did I get out of it? So you want to make sure that you track your personal money as well as your business money, because again, that's going to have an impact on how much you have left at the end of the year. Okay, and when you get ready to not work as much.
See, he lost it and that kind of. So systems and structure, you want to think in terms of, is this replicable every time, and is it scalable? And that's basically what you're looking at. So with that in mind, go ahead and hit the next clicker. You want to look at everything as a system. You want to set up a system for everything, and then you want to know who's in charge of it. And if you're a business of one, then that puts you in charge of all of those. But you still want a system, because the goal is to not always be a business of one.
And still do you see?
Yeah. Okay. So like we were saying before, you need to have a system so you know what happens when you get a lead. Are you going to pass that to someone who's going to follow up, or are you going to be following up on that? Does it happen the same way every time? This is part of the experience, so that you know that your clients are getting the same experience every time. And basically, you want to look at it as the before, during, and after. Now, I sometimes refer to the after as an autopsy, because it's a done deal. Whatever happened, happened. And that's your opportunity to look at stuff and say, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What do I want to do again? What should I never, ever do again? And those are basically how you're looking at those.
That seems to work though.
It-
So you call it like an after action review or something?
Yeah, you mean after action review. But once you get it down, then the idea is just do it again, do it again, do it again. And so that's the secret sauce, is the consistency and having stuff systemized, and then the hard work that goes in between that.
Okay, we're getting short on time, but this is probably one of the most important things in this whole slide is how do you take action, get your goals into actions, okay? Everybody's heard of a BHAG, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal. Is everybody familiar with 4 Disciplines of Execution? That book, a great book. It's part of the Covey group, but I can't remember who actually wrote it, but in there, one of the things that they talk about is you never want to have more than 3 goals. It's just too much to manage. We can't do it. Okay, you're gonna have smaller subsets under that. So make sure that you when you're planning, one of the biggest mistakes is we don't time block for it. We don't set up something to go away. People that are really successful in business, I've written a book about Bill Gates. I can't remember if it's a week or 2 weeks that he spends, he goes to a totally separate place away from everything. And all he does is he thinks about what he wants to do. Now it's with his foundation, he's with his business, but he spends his time doing nothing but that. I mean, he takes like a lot of notes, compiles all this stuff, and then he figures out after he sets all of those goals and those visions on how he's going to execute it. But you want to break it down, 1 or 2 goals for next year, no more than 3 for sure. And think about what it is that's important in your life and what you want to move forward with. Okay. And then you want to start breaking those steps down. How are you going to achieve them? In list of orders. Sometimes there's dependencies on a task. You got to get one thing done before you can get the next thing done. So break those down. These are just some examples. They're in your handout. 2 major goals. Now, how many transactions do you want to close next year? And maybe you want to secure 2 large business channel accounts. Like, let's say I want to go out and I'm going to secure a builder account. I want to get all the business from this builder. And then you break down how you want to go into that. The transactions are fairly straightforward. What are we going to do? We're going to prospect. We're going to break breads. We're going to do a whole bunch of learns, face-to-face meetings, all of those things that we know, those leading indicators that are going to get us to that number. Because we've got to take those actions up front that we don't see any immediate result from to get the final end result that we want. Okay. Secure 2 large channel accounts. Again, these are just examples that are in there, but make sure you're detailed enough on your description. Also think about this when you're writing these goals down. Are there things in here that you can get somebody to help you with? Okay. Is there somebody that you can delegate to? Is there somebody that, Steve and I work together when we set our goals, we'll take different parts of them. So break it down so that you're clear about it, so that somebody that's assisting you with it can help with that process.
Okay. I thought about doing 2 parts on this, but then it was just gonna look like a little hourglass, and so I thought we'd focus on this right here, because this goes into the sales funnel. As you look at the sales funnel, there's 2 ways to get more business done. One is to put more on the top of the funnel, which is bringing more leads, and the other is to get more efficient and in better ratios, so more comes out of the funnel. And so you want to keep that in the back of your mind as we're looking at, they're doing our foundation here of a complete agent. And so first thing you want to look at is your essential knowledge, and that's how to get licensed, you got to learn some of the rules of the road, what you can and can't do, what's legal, what's not legal. And then you put together your sales presentations. You should have a buyer's presentation, you should have a seller's presentation, and they're not necessarily going to be the same, but they will be very similar. From there, you start
Who's ready to go? I mean, if you would just
like your elevator speech or your commercial.
if I told you right now I'm ready to sell my house, could you give me your listing presentation right now? Or you have everything you need to do that?
I don't have a written one.
That's okay. No,
Well,
but you could, right?
yeah, but it's important to be ready to go, right? You want to be ready at any time, One of the reasons I carry my laptop is I have had people ask about loan programs and stuff, and I'll just open it up and say, well, let's do it right now. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm really expecting that, but yeah, I mean, you want to be prepared all the time. So go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. Because that leads into marketing. That's where you decide what you're gonna do, how you're gonna do that one. And that's basically getting set up as your individual agent with the goal to move into your operational systems. And so once you get your operational, you work on building your team. Once you build your team, you start looking at it from a legacy standpoint. How do we make this go on indefinitely? Or do I want it to go on indefinitely? and those types of things. And all of that goes back into your sales funnel. You start out with all the leads that you get. Some of those are not ready, so you put those into let's get them ready. Some of them are ready to go now. Some of them are gonna get mad at you for whatever reason, or they suddenly remember that their Aunt Susie's an agent, or Uncle Bob, or their nephew, so they end up over there, so you lose a few there, you get houses under contract. Do you sell every single house you get under contract, or does some of them not close?
Lynn does.
So we need to have Lynn talk with you more. But yeah, as you go, at the end of the day, you finally get all the deals that you did. And so if you get better at prospecting, you keep more people there. If you get better at filtering where you're going, you keep more people there. If you have your team, so when you run into the person who says, I ain't fix the squat, you can say, great, is it okay if we have our handyman come in and fix this so that you can sell your house and you'll actually get more money for it? Those types of things. You get more deals done as you go through, so you get more deals done. And so all of this relates to each other, and so it kind of works into that hourglass as you're looking through it.
Legacy is important, it's like, what do we leave behind when we leave? What's here? We leave our business. What do we leave behind in our business? We leave our life. What do we leave behind in our life? Accountability and coaching. This is obviously something that we've harped on time and time again, and you've got to have some sort of accountability. And if you're not good at holding yourself accountable, which I'm not specifically good at that, it's one of my weaknesses. Some people are amazing at it. They just say they're going to do something like Don does, and Don says, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to follow through, and I'm going to get it done. That's what you want to be. And if you need some help doing that, get some help. Don't be shy about it. There's plenty of people that will hold you, especially if you get an accountability partner that doesn't really like you. Okay, and so you tell them what you're going to do, and then they're going to hound you like crazy if you don't do it. They're gonna embarrass you and humiliate you if you don't get it done. So
Is that why Steve's yours?
yes, exactly. So
That's the key. I've got to make an enemy. So.
You guys have too many friends.
get that accountability partner. However you do it, you can do it. You can do it online. You can do it virtual. You don't have to have somebody that's here in person. I mean, there's virtual and coaching. It's the same thing. You can get coaching on how to get better. There's so many coaches that are available in our industry that you can get to help you improve your game. And that's what a coach is for, right? Every professional has a coach, whether a professional in business, whether a professional in sports, whatever they are, race car driver, anything. They horseback riding, everybody's got a coach, rock climbers. I know some rock climbers, they've got a coach. Everybody seems to have a coach that wants to get better because they can look at us detached from the moment, detached from what's happening right now, and give us some valuable insight into that. Steve, is there anything you want to add with that?
I was just thinking, I'm a good example of being resistant to coaching, because I, for a lot of times, felt like the coach needs to be the expert that knows more than you. And once you get a certain level of knowledge, you know what to do, you just do it. And I didn't step back and think, okay, all the professional athletes that are performing at a high level, they know their profession, they know their game, they know what they need to do, and they still have a coach. The coach helps them stay accountable and helps them work on those types of things. If you are looking at, just lost my train of thought, another example in there. But anyways, once I finally opened myself up to the idea of coaching, it kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I thought, okay, yeah, I know this stuff. And so on one hand, no, I don't need someone to call me and say, this is how you do your job. At the same time, it does help me to achieve the goals that I'm setting. And so I would say, even if you're really, really good at being an agent, it's worth having someone be your accountability coach.
Yeah. And definitely when you're making your business plan, okay, or you're setting a lofty goal, figure out how you're going to help yourself accountable for doing it. Because that's it doesn't do any good. What do they say? A goal without a plan is just a dream. Yeah, you're not going to make it. So make sure you get accountability partner for that. One of the great ways to do it is to share it in the book, 4 Disciplines of Execution. They recommend, and we did this out of the office one time. It was actually kind of fun. So each department had a specific goal that they were trying to accomplish, and they detailed what that goal was. They made a poster of it, and they had all kinds of different icons to show where they were in that process. So you could walk by any department, any group of people that were working on something and see where they were on this process. And then they would report once a week where they were on it. So, and everybody got involved. And what was really cool about it is that everybody started supporting everybody else. It's like, hey man, good job. You guys are really rocking on this. You're making great progress. You're gonna be ahead of schedule. They'd have a time frame, right? Everybody knows what a SMART goal is, right? Yeah, so they were very time specific, so they had to get done by this date, and it's like, wow, you guys are way ahead of schedule, you guys are behind, is there anything?
Yeah,
Can I help?
Well, you
Yeah.
would need, how do I help,
Yeah,
this kind
how
of
do I help?
conversations should
Yeah.
organically spring up. And that's a scary thing to do, to share your dashboard, because you're telling someone else, this is what I think I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
They
if you
look
make-
at it and say, oh, really? All right.
Yeah, if you make something public, that's a huge motivator, right? Because then people know about it and they're gonna ask you about it if you don't do it. You've got to follow through with it. And get a coach we talked about. Oh, and we're done.
Yep.
Oh, not bad. 8 minutes over.
8 minutes old, okay.
That's not bad.
Not bad for a 2-hour presentation.
Yeah.
Especially with Steve's worlds. Anybody got any questions? You guys want
Go to the next slide. Ashley's put some.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice, yes.
Just your website.
Oh, cool.
So they can connect with you. You guys on Zoom can just take that QR code and go to their contact info.
Very nice,
Very
thank you.
nice.
Yeah, if there's
That's something
questions.
Ashley's really good at, and I really suck at. I need to get some coaching from Ashley on how to do that. But we'd love to, anytime you guys have a question, anything we can do, again, the key for us is provide value. Make this worth your time. You
Yeah.
guys spent a little over an hour with us going through this. We shared a lot of information. Obviously, there's more detail into it than what we can cover in this class, but we really want to be able to help you and assist you in growing your business. Because if your business grows, ultimately ours will grow. Whether it's with you or not, we're going to learn from that process, and it's going to help us grow our business. And so that's what we want to do, because we want to make sure that everybody is successful in their goals.
And that's where those give us the good feedback.
Yeah.
Because last thing we want to do is come in here and have you walk out thinking, well, there's not my life back.
Hey, I've been back twice.
I know.
He showed up, he said, oh, I don't know, they were here.
Yeah. Not that again.
Hey, you guys on Zoom, if you saw that link in the chat that was to the handouts on here, that form's gonna be on there as well,
Yes,
right?
it is.
We've got time to sit here and fill that out, once we break here, while we have lunch and visit some more. But if you guys would do that and either email it to me or email it to them, you've got their contact information right there. That would be really awesome. I just wanted to say, one of my takeaways was that you guys kind of ended on legacy. And then went all the way back to one of my first notes was your 1-year plan should contribute to your 5-year plan. We don't want to be doing the same thing every year till we die, right?
That's right. Something different.
I mean, because wouldn't it be easy to just look at last year's goals? You had a lot of comparisons. What did you do last year? What do you want to do this year? And you just set some goals to improve, and do more of. Do we want to be doing more of work and busy work and all that forever, or what's the ultimate goal? So look beyond that. What's the 5-year goal? What's the 10-year goal? When's the end goal to kind of do what you talked about, do what you want when you want? And if you love doing transactions, do more transactions. But if you want to just be more in a supervisory role and have some residual income and maybe create some wealth over time, that's part of your 1-year goal, part of your 5-year goal. So that builds over time. It's like, hey, I've reached that now. Now I have more choices and more options. So it's not just an annual thing.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
When we were preparing, he was talking about a 500-year plan, so.
A lot of Japanese companies do that. They'll write a 500-year business plan.
For the company.
Yeah, for the company.
500?
500-year business plan. 300, I think, is more standard, but I got 500-year business plan.
Great value.
You got tired just thinking about it, didn't you?
No, I'm gonna be pretty old at 500 years.
Anybody else have a takeaway? Anybody else have anything you want to share or a question? Any comments there on Zoom?
Just guys, keep in mind that the definition of insanity is what?
Insanity.
Over and over and expecting a different result. So do something different for 2024. If you haven't sat down and done a business plan, do that. Try that exercise. If you haven't set a big goal and written out the details of how to get there, do that. If you're not tracking your leads, what you're doing, if you're not time blocking, just take one. Nobody's going to do all of this. Nobody that I know does all of this. Okay?
I know.
Yeah, but take one thing, okay? Take one thing and say, you know what, this resonates with me, it makes sense to me. I know I can do this, and just put that in and start with that,
It's simple.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing this, I'm gonna start doing that, and
Exactly.
that'll lead to something else.
Yeah.
And it's easy to overcomplicate things, especially, I'm good at overcomplicating, when I explain stuff. I've got a meme sometimes that I'll send out where, when it says what the point I was trying to make, and it's got a picture of a freeway going like this, and it says the point I actually made, and it's just a spaghetti. And so to keep it simple is good. You always step back and say, why is this so complicated? And is it really? Step back, look at it and say, okay, it's not really that complicated.
Reminds me of that joke, a little boy that went to ask his dad a question, he goes, why didn't you just ask your mom? He goes, I just didn't want to know that much about it.
That's awesome. Hey, guys, that last slide there just shows you the couple of classes we got coming up. They're on the same theme, actually. It's on making introductions and getting referrals, developing your elevator pitch, first impressions, all that kind of stuff. Next to it, this is actually your guys' preferred lender, Alan. He's been here before. He's a great presenter, and he wanted to talk about making first impressions. So that's coming up next. Love you guys on Zoom. We're gonna cut you loose, and we're gonna kind of hang out here a little bit more. If I left the mic on, it would just get loud in here, and you wouldn't be able to hear anything anymore. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. That was great. Appreciate it.
You. Thanks for sticking to the end, guys. Hey, you guys licensed in Oregon?
I'm not, are you? But we do have people, so.
Nate, they could find somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, New York's about the only place we're not licensed. I'm not, as far
Really? For the
as for the
branch?
company, yeah.
Company. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in.
See you, Chase. See you, Nate.
Yeah, I'm in Florida,